Welcome everyone, bienvenue, TransTech Paris, second event. So we started recently, the number tells about that, but it's already the second, and there will be third in June, and the fourth in July, and fifth in August, and so forth. So now I will start with sharing my screen and introducing everything, starting from this. So most likely you see a website that says that this is TransTech, Transformative Technology community. And you see there's banners that are advertising the events, but under the banners you see those buttons and they say TransTech Conference, TransTech Lab, TransTech 200, TransTech Academy, and TransTech Community. So what we do essentially here from TransTech Paris, that's a chapter, representative embassy of TransTech community, which is founded and originated from Silicon Valley, and now is slowly but very confidently taking over the world with one basic mission. It's helping 2 billion people to achieve the state of well-being and flourishing by 2030. I think it's a good mission. I joined it with a joy and happiness, and we also have many people on this call that they will share also their perspectives, their experience, how they contribute their time and effort and passion to get there collectively. But here, starting from the large
a little bit about how many representatives, how many representative cities we have already. So this is the page which collects all the chapters. So you can see London, Vancouver, Los Angeles, Washington, Queensland, New York, Toronto, San Francisco, Boulder, Prague, Paris, and so forth, Helsinki, Colombia, and you can see all of the chapters here, Berlin, Texas, Berkeley, Madrid, Milan. But today we are from Paris. So you see the famous Eiffel Tower. And if you click on that, that's the familiar face over there. And then for those who haven't joined the platform yet, the network of transformative technology, this is an opportunity. So you can go and request to join. And in this way, you will join the TransTech Paris. So here's a description. Here is also an email if you want to send an email to the Paris TransTech chapter. And if you want to join the community, you press the button and you fill in your details and you are connected. So the next thing, once you have joined, then you have access to this platform. And this platform is intranet.
You can see all the members. They're over here. On the left-hand side, you see the home. Then there are discovery members. You can see the people that are also working on transformative technology. You can have topics, events, and groups. And let me go to the groups because TransTech Paris also has a group on this platform. And another thing, what you see right here, there are two memberships. There is a TransTech Advanced membership and also TransTech Full membership. And those also include special organized events for the members that are only accessible for them and especially tailored for a deeper connection between the entrepreneurs, investors, enthusiasts, scientists, academics, and practitioners. And here within the groups, you also can see TransTech Paris. So once you go to the TransTech Paris, this is the place where all of the future events will be listed and where you can follow up with the details. So, and here you can see that calming wearables is the event for today. It's the second event. It's also scheduled for this time when I'm speaking right now. So you can write comments if you want and also be ready for the upcoming events. And here you can also see the first event from Paris. And just to provide a little bit insight on how did it go, So here we have the link to the first one. You can always go there and see the recording. There are links connecting to the pages which have the recordings of the first event. So the launch happened on April 30th. There is a YouTube video on that. There's the full recording from the TransTech community channel. There is a more summary on the Transforms Me channel. And there are also links to the people that were presenting during that time. But now we will go to today's event and we will look at our speakers, and shortly I will introduce our speakers today. So now we're getting back to Transformative Technology Network and to the TransTech Paris group. And here we have the event for today, Calming Wearables. We open it up. And here is loading description. So here we have calming wearables, not transforming, calming wearables. But we will speak not only about that, we will also have perspectives on designing for better future, including designing wearables, of course. So here we have the banner, the speakers, and the speakers today, we have two main speakers, Phnam BAGLEY, co-founder and creative director at Nonfiction, a design firm based in San Francisco, and Stefan CHMELIK, founder of BioSelf Technology, makers of Sensate. And here, and that's me, down there, TransTech Paris. My name is Agnis. I'm the lead, and I'm also founder of Transforms.me. That's a gateway to the transformation science and practice. And we invite everyone who hasn't joined yet from Paris or Paris related or France related entrepreneurs, investors, academics, scientists, practitioners, everyone who would like to improve the lives of people using technologies joining this chapter. And if you know somebody who would be a potential candidate for joining the TransTech Paris, you are very welcome to suggest finding us or even writing an email to me. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen right now. And I would like to invite Phnam to take over this second event and do your magic in around 15 minutes.
Agnis, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
There are some people in the waiting room. Maybe you can disable the waiting room so people can just automatically join.
Okay, thank you.
If you want. You're welcome.
We're good. Phnam?
Okay, great. I just unmuted myself. Hi, everyone. It's very nice to meet all of you and be part of this second event for TransTech Paris. You're probably wondering why I've been invited. So I am based in San Francisco, but I'm actually from Paris. I'm French, lived there 2/3 of my life, and then moved to the US 15 years ago. The reason why I moved was because back then I was in the space industry and moved to Houston, Texas to work in that. And since then, my journey has been involving designing many types of products, including wearables. And yeah, today we're going to talk about what that's all about. I'm going to share my screen. Agnes, could you give me permission to share my screen?
Does it ask for that?
Yeah, it says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
You can make her co-host so she can share her screen as well. You know, we might have some vandals who write down on the screens and, you know, share their screens. So
yes,
it's not.
I made you the co-host, so most likely you can do that now. And I will do with Stefan with the same thing immediately.
It's working. So so I run a design firm based in San Francisco. The firm is called Nonfiction. We call ourselves nonfiction because we like to turn science fiction into reality for a better future. That is how we talk about ourselves. And what does that mean? That means that we work with scientists, with doctors, with entrepreneurs, with big corporation, anybody who has ideas but doesn't really know how to turn them into actual products. And that's exactly what we do. We start designing the products, we help engineer them and launch them into successful ventures. And these and the way we really think about our product is really the future of everything. We're not super interested in doing yet another product that looks the same, is used the same, and does the same thing. There's a lot of that in the world. We're really trying to push ways of interacting, of living with, of taking products and having them change our lives for the better, which is why we're here with TransTech. So these are the few categories of future products that we will work with: comfort, the future of humans, the future of healthcare, sleep, safety, transportation, and education. So let's start with a product that's made us a little famous: future of comfort. So this product that looks very natural. This is a great example of what we call natural design. This is actually the first on-ear pair of headphones that you attach to your ear. And at first it feels very magical, right? You're like, well, how does it attach to the ear, right? Well, it's actually a clip system that was actually very complex to develop. It required a lot of ergonomic testing, a lot of 3D printing, fitting strange components, things like that. So what we love to do is to make something technically very complex look very, very natural. And that goes all the way to the physical interaction. This entire product does not have any button. The way you turn it on is by separating the two halves that are magnetically connected, and the way you turn it off is by connecting them together again. The way you control the volume is just by touching the surface that's on the outside. Same thing for skipping the next song. So really bringing more natural design to the products that we live with in order to make life a little bit easier and more beautiful is what we do. So now I would like to talk about the second project we've worked on that some of you probably have seen. It's the Halo Neuroscience headset. So this looks like a regular pair of headphones, but what it does really is that it stimulates the motor cortex, which happens to be right underneath where a typical headband of a pair of headphones is. And what that does is that it helps your brain learn movement faster. That sounds a little bit like science fiction, but actually, all of this is backed by some research. This is a company led by neuroscientists, and yeah, designing this product in a way that was inconspicuous in a gym environment, right? Nobody wants to go to a gym and wear a brain stimulator, right? But going to the gym wearing a pair of headphones feels a little bit more natural. And that's how we designed this thing. So this technology was accessible before, but quite expensive. And our team actually helped bring the cost and manufacturing down to a very attainable price. I think right now it's $300. And this technology is actually used by professional sports team. Here you see someone from the USA team, Olympic team in cycling, using in their training. So really making these cutting edge technology for transformational technology available to everyone is also one thing that we love to do. Next, I would like to talk about healthcare. So far healthcare has been doing a lot of giving a lot of invasive solutions like medication. A very small percentage of the medication that you absorb actually does what you want it to do. And then the rest may give you side effects or whatever. And it may or may not work. Or there are some surgery implants that may help you with certain conditions. And what is wonderful in the world of transformational technology is the resurgence of non-invasive solutions. So here is a product that looks very, again, inconspicuous. It's a bracelet that you put on your wrist, and it helps people who experience hand tremors. Think of Parkinson's, but this is actually designed for a condition called essential tremors. You put it on your wrist, and then when you turn it on, you can control how strong the electrical stimulation is, and it can actually calm down your hand tremor. And the consequence of that is that you can have your life back. You can drink a glass of water without, putting spreading all over. You can go outside without the shame and anxiety of having a physical condition, and really changing people's lives that way. So we design everything, charging, packaging, the whole experience, the whole physical experience. So yeah. And then next, Future of Sleep. This is a project we did with Philips in the Netherlands, and it's really, again, stimulating the brain to help get better quality deep sleep. So when we think about stimulate products for the brain, a lot of products do EEG, which is recording what's going on with the brain waves, so you can analyze the data and get treatment from there. But this particular product actually stimulates at the same time, so you actually get benefits from wearing it night after night. What was very difficult about this project is that we had to design something that stayed very, very stable on the head while you're sleeping. And these people that we're designing for are already quite agitated at night. So designing for that case was really challenging. And then lastly, there was one project I wanted to share, not really related to a TransTech, but can give you a sense of how far the technology can go. So here is an AR mask that we designed for firefighters. So it actually allows firefighters to see through smoke, right? They have an AR lens in front of their eye. It uses pretty cutting edge cognitive neuroscience knowledge, a thermal camera, and used as a system actually helps people see what you see on the right. So you see the edges of everything, people walking, the ceiling, things falling off, and you see all of this, using this fairly small device. So that's what I wanted to share about the type of work that we do. A lot of wearables, a lot of taking technologies, taking wonderful ideas and science from different categories and merging them together into products that people really need or love to use every day.
Impressive, very impressive. This is what people are writing in the comments as well. I mean, we are always really kind of positively surprised. Oh, we can do that. Oh, we can actually put something on our head, just like a hat. And it does this thing. It kind of reads our brains or helps to capture the vibrations or see the brain patterns and actually maybe something signaling back. I think this is becoming the new normal, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For sure. And what I love about this as well is that we're starting small. We're starting with objects, and then we're developing into wearables, and then soon it's going to become a system. And we're actually working on a project right now where we're integrating wearables and different types of products and technologies into huge systems like cities or education systems that are going to have an implication on the future of work and future of well-being. So really being part of that evolution of all these technologies is wonderful.
Exactly. So as I was working on transforming cities, that really speaks to my heart. That's like singing a nice song to me. Oh, and I can scale it up. That's amazing. And at this very note, I would transition to our next speaker because there is another example and evidence of the wearable that works, scientifically proven. So over to you, Stefan.
Agnes, thank you. Good to be here. Phnam, fantastic. I love that. I love this idea that your company is pushing the boundaries on what it is to be human and what it is to use technology as a wearable. And I think that's the challenge, isn't it? So if anything, current events over the last few weeks and months have made it even more important for us to understand how we can interact with technology in a kind of humanistic way. Most people have been using technology to a lesser or greater extent.
Please tell your social insurance number.
Most people have been using technology to a lesser or greater extent. Obviously, virtually all of us have been thrown into being required to use technology over the last few weeks, and how we do that humanistically is important. So I'm a kind of a medic who's also has a hugely optimistic view and is passionate about the use of technology to improve human health, particularly human mental health. I suppose the context is my background. So I was brought up in a family with, at the time, I suppose considered quite unusual or outlandish ideas. Dad taught me and my brother to meditate when we were very young, under 6 or 7, something of that nature. So I'm a sort of lifelong meditator. I've been meditating in a number of schools and with a number of monks over the years. And I've used that training to very much inform my medical practice. So I've been practicing integrated healthcare for the last 30 years. 16, 17 years ago, I founded New Medicine Group, which is the UK's main integrated healthcare clinic in Harley Street, which is a team of, I think at our height, we were about 10 people, about 300 years of clinical experience in the team. So, when we got into a room, it was a pretty amazing learning experience for everyone. And the motivation behind forming New Medicine Group was this realization that there was a lot of evidence-based but non-mainstream practices which patients were seeking out for chronic conditions. And then they were also seeing their doctor or their consultant, and the two sides weren't really talking to each other. So integration of different aspects of medicine seemed to be the only obvious thing to do. So that's very much what we've pioneered, the use of science-based interventions and science-based testing to diagnose and assess people, but then interventions which are as natural and as non-invasive as possible. My own interest and passion, over the last 30 years and increasingly over the last 15 years has been around enabling people to understand how to self-regulate. So by that, what I mean is the ability to have control over how our internal body interacts with the external world, the external environment. Usually this is seen in terms of stress management, if you like. And I'm now very much of the opinion that the primary characteristic all of us humans need to develop going forward into the next few decades is resiliency. I think in a world which is, and if anything's been demonstrated recently, it's this, in a world where you really can't know for sure what's going to happen around the corner. And if it is true that 85% of jobs which people will be doing in 10 years' time haven't been invented yet, then what we need to have is the ability to roll with the punches, the ability to adapt, survive, improvise, overcome. So resiliency we can think of as a sort of biophysical, mental, emotional attribute or characteristic. It's the ability to withstand the negative impact of stress and to make that a positive for how we use our body and our mind together. And also, of course, on a physical level, it's purely the ability to not become ill when exposed to certain environmental or lifestyle conditions. Now, so what does that mean? What is resiliency, and obviously, incredibly importantly, how do we improve that? Well, I mean, I think there are a number of traditional practices that we can look at. If we look at epigenetics, so the thing that, what is it that has the biggest impact on gene expression? So if we accept that we have limited control over the genes that we have some control actually, but if we obviously have limited control over the genes we have, we do actually have a fantastic amount of control over how those genes are expressed. So you can think of it a bit like, the hand of cards you're dealt which you can play well or you can play badly. And what seems to affect epigenetics, gene expression, is essentially lifestyle. So obviously the food you eat, how you eat it, the sleep you get or don't get, the exercise you get or don't get, and critically, the way in which you regulate stress hormones in the body. You know, human beings have developed this astonishingly effective flight or fight emergency response where we can produce incredibly powerful hormones in microseconds. But the society and the world has developed at a much faster rate than human evolutionary biology. So we're in many ways now slave to this very primitive mechanism at the base of our brains. Human beings have 3 brains or 5 brains, depending on how you want to look at it. Certainly, obviously, one in the head with the brainstem, the lizard brain at the bottom, the heart brain, and the gut brain. So kind of the thinking, the feeling, and the emotional brain, if you like. And the thing linking these 3 elements of the nervous system is the obviously the spine, but from a functional point of view, it's predominantly the vagus nerve. So I've become increasingly obsessed with how do we activate and increase tone of the vagus nerve in a positive way. As far as my clinical experience of the last 15 years has, the path that's led me down is that when you you know, if you're going to do one thing, so you can work on heart rate variability, which is what we were very focused on for a long time. We know that heart rate variability is a fantastic predictor of longevity, of happiness, of output. You know, we know that if you increase heart rate variability, you increase life. You know, you exponentially increase lifespan. You increase your level of contentedness. You increase your productivity. But if you dig down even deeper, what you find is it's the vagus nerve that essentially drives all the processes which we see going wrong with the vast majority of modern illnesses. So pro-inflammatory problems, the things that most people are now made ill by, excuse me, are now made ill by. But also, if you can improve vagal nerve tone, there is a direct correlation between improvement in all these functions. So I've been teaching people to meditate for a long time. What I found out increasingly about 10 years ago was the ability to teach people to meditate had basically fallen off the cliff. It became harder and harder for people to do classical meditation type techniques. People would just become agitated. I think there's a real issue with subclinical or undiagnosed trauma in the modern world. And I think actually one thing we're seeing with the veneer of activity having been pulled away is that there is a huge mental health crisis coming. I think the crisis that we're really going to be seeing over the next few months and years is the mental health crisis. Because a lot of the mechanisms which people would use to protect themselves from that have just been ripped away. So overactivity, overwork, drinking, socializing, going to yoga classes, whatever. Ways in which people have learned to externally self-regulate have just been ripped away. So we are going to see a massive problem with undiagnosed mental health issues, which are going to come forward on top of the diagnosed mental health issues. So with the decrease in inability of large numbers of people to follow classical meditation techniques, it became obvious that actually we needed to provide a new way, a third way for people to learn how to self-regulate their nervous system, improve vagal nerve tone, and to make the possibility of actually doing proper, if you like, meditation available to the average person. We used a clinic a technology in the clinic for a number of years with amazing results. It was developed by the US Army for veterans with PTSD. We used it in all our main clinics, and we had great results. But I became obsessed with the idea of mass impact on a global scale, and you know, an upmarket technological solution was not going to achieve that. So we developed a wearable technology, which I'll share with you. So Sensate is the result of multiple years of clinical practice, but 5 years of hardware exploration. It's an infrasound device which sits on the chest, so it uses low frequency infrasound via bone conduction. And the eureka moment essentially was that we could turn the body into the hardware. So by putting the device on the chest, you use the hollow thoracic cavity and you turn this into a resonating cell, so you can get whole body stimulation via a relatively small wearable device controlled via an app. The app obviously controls the device itself, the volume, the intensity, etc. We have a sort of library of tracks and themes which we're adding to as we go, so people can choose the track or the theme based on the kind of experience they want to have and the outcome they're looking for. And we've been about 2 years in clinical validation. What's really pushed us forward and pushed us into the mainstream now is the kind of reactions we've been getting from people, which is unprecedented in my 30 years of clinical experience. I've not come across anything which produces the kind of outcomes predictably that we experience using Sensate. So we're in production now, but there is an Indiegogo campaign on which we've offered, particularly to make it available for people with reduced income, health workers, etc. And we've had some very good press. It's being reviewed at the moment. That's the outline. Infrasound technology combined with oral soundscapes to increase vagal nerve tone and improve heart rate variability. Thank you.
That was great. I'm looking forward to get one soon. I suppose it's on its way.
Yeah, I know. I know that you're getting one shortly.
Right. I was hoping, but as we know, the things can get slower or faster, depends on the circumstances. But definitely, I think for those who are curious, for me to reflect on how the Sensate works. So I guess the next meeting, the TransTech Paris 3rd, I would definitely sharing some experience. How does that work for me? So I think that's, and of course, Stefan, you are welcome to join to listen to that. Well, great. Official part is over. Now is the time for questions. And questions for those people who would like to raise a question, you just unmute yourself, turn on your camera so we can see you and we can listen to your questions.
Hi, I have a question. So what I wanted to ask was that I'm seeing a lot of the wearables and a lot of the transformative technology, mainly by being part of this community and network. But other than that, it's not well known, at least in my side of the world. So I was wondering whether there's any kind of marketplace that is just for transformative tech, or does anybody have any thoughts on a marketplace for transformative technology products?
That's a good question, right? Those who have been with the TransTech for some time. I'll take the first opportunity to answer. So the marketplace, the best that I've seen so far was at the conference. So there's an annual conference of transformative technology, and it is held in Silicon Valley, specifically in Palo Alto, in California, United States. And while there were 2 days full with speakers and impressive experience, practice, investors, and scientists speaking from the stage, at the same time, there were many rooms. I even didn't count, but there were like almost 10 rooms, separate big halls with all of the technology that is currently developed and available for as transformative technology for well-being. And there were so many different kinds that I didn't start it. I thought it's too much for me. I was rather speaking with the people, but I saw how many people are actually testing the VR, testing the different kind of sound vibrations, light vibrations, all those kind of things. Maybe Phnam, you would like to add something, what you would say about that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually concur with the TransTech conference. That was amazing. I've never seen that many things in one room. And what was great about it is that some of the experiences were physical. It was a physical device that did something. Some of them were digital, you know, like a VR experience to help with meditation or whatever. Another place that is slowly developing for that is Consumer Electronics Show, which is happening every January in Vegas. You know, for a long time, it was all about, you know, who has the biggest TV, you know, smallest drone, whatever. And now you're seeing, you know, this whole category of wearables for human well-being being developed. And actually quite a few of them are coming from France, which is relevant to our chapter today. They are, you know, a lot of things having to do with sleep, with health, and you know, weight loss, things like that. So yeah, I would definitely look at that. The French Tech Hub, I believe, had reserved an entire section in the Sands Hotel specifically for French tech, and a huge portion of it was related to transformational technology.
Maybe also the answer would be, maybe there should be a marketplace, but definitely the community is doing its best, and it's growing, and has been projecting sustainable growth over the last, I don't even know how many years. I've heard people say this was the 5th conference, and the previous one had 700 people and participants, and this one had over 1,000. I don't know what exactly will going to happen during this year because of the pandemic and all of the other questions, but definitely there is a huge potential, and it's growing. And there are companies that do products, they do technology, but they are not aware of the community yet. So now it's growing. So the answer is most likely there will be more particular marketplace emerging soon. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, I think maybe also the distinction between what is wearable technology is becoming increasingly blurred, which I think is not a bad thing. It's becoming increasingly visible, invisible, isn't it? So in headphones, in rings, in watches, in clothing, even you know, in necklaces. So I think the whole concept of wearable technology as a standalone category is a little bit artificial. And perhaps anything which is smart or somewhat intelligent and fits into your life in some way, performs a function that improves you know, your humanistic capacity, maybe that counts as wearable technology.
Any other questions? Or maybe somebody else would like to answer and say, oh, I know the marketplace. Also possible.
Hi, sorry, I don't have my video on. That was really great, and I was wondering, I wrote it in the chat, if you could please elaborate on how your sounds are composed, and what is the science behind your music that allows the user to reduce their anxiety? And I'm wondering how many sound designers you're working with right now. Sorry, too many questions.
Yeah, I presume me. Yeah, we spent a lot of time. I come from a musical background, actually. My father was, and my brother are both musicians, and I was, for a brief time, a musician, but I was pretty bad. So you know, so that does help. And I have a kind of a sense of vibration, whatever the equivalent of perfect pitch for non-audible sound is. And I think vibration is interesting. So there's an audible and an inaudible component to the Sensate experience. So vibration is really fundamental because it would have been our first sense prior to being human, actually. Before we had eyes or ears, we would have sensed our environment according to vibration. So it's hard, sense of vibration and reaction, emotional and physical reaction to it is hardwired into our nervous system over hundreds of millions of years, much more than sound or vision even. We spent 3-4 years working out how to write the tracks. There's a number of secret sauce, trade secret elements, neural processing elements built into the audible component. But what's unique and interesting is that the non-audible part that happens via the device that you wear on the chest, the infrasonic component, is synchronized with the audible component. So it's not just simply vibrating while listening to music. There's an orchestrated element going on. And there are, this isn't completely novel. It's novel in technology, and that's what our pending patent covers. But in many ways, what we're doing is mimicking human experience over thousands of years. I think something that human beings have done is found ways to make their chest and bodies vibrate, whether it's kind of banging drums or omming or chanting or mantra. There's a lot of sacred music which uses low frequency sounds to produce feelings of flow state, elation, awe and wonder. And anyone who has experience of omming and chanting knows that it can make you feel really good. And the science of examining how the vagus nerve can be stimulated, we know that producing certain resonant frequencies in the chest via breathing techniques, omming and chanting, etc., will have a direct stimulatory effect on vagal nerve activity. So in clinic, what we did is we measured a number of important biometrics that are vagus nerve flags, particularly subjective well-being, respiratory CO2, heart rate variability, and these are the markers that we were looking to see in changes in, and which we did see significant changes in. We have one resident composer, Mig, who lives in a forest. And we basically channel information to him, and these kind of tracks appear. And we're just in the process. Actually, we should announce in the next few weeks a collaboration with a major ambient artist who's working with Apple and people at the moment. So we're starting to open up the possibility of guest artist collaborations, but at the moment everything's been produced in-house.
Thank you so much. And I was wondering, what do you look for in a sound designer that that would qualify to work with your company?
It's a really good point. It's obviously an understanding of how the impact of sound, audible sound, on human emotion. Again, nothing new here, right? Films and adverts have used sound and music to manipulate human emotion for a very, very long time. Horror films in particular, if you like, are famous. It's easy in a way to produce feelings of discomfort in people. It's a little bit more complex to produce feelings of comfort, safety, benevolence, empathy, etc. in people, but it's just as feasible. So what would we look for? We're only starting to look, I suppose. So I guess people we're talking to now have a history of working with ambient music, of working within the therapeutic arena. But obviously other artists might be able to, might have a catalog which we can listen to. Are you a composer yourself?
Oh no, I'm not. I just work with musicians. Yeah, and you also talked about sound, doing soundscapes. I haven't listened to your compositions. Is it a combination of music and soundscape? And do your musicians do their own field recording, or you get the field recording from the field recording libraries?
No, everything is unique and recorded by us. We record some sounds in nature. I'm often out in the forest with a microphone, for instance, recording birds and water, etc. So it's all 100% unique content, which we record while composing. We've developed a system where we can feel and write and hear at the same time, because obviously you have to be able to feel the tones. Just as a kind of final aside, a church organ, the lower 2 octaves are beneath hearing threshold. So people like Bach have been composing inaudible music for a very long time. Music which is designed to be felt through the building. In a way, what we're doing is we've just miniaturized miniaturize that so you don't have to go to a church. You just pop it on your chest, and you, like you said, you return the body into the hardware.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Yes, and we have more questions. So I see the hand from Alex at the moment. So I will unmute. Yes, you unmuted yourself. So please go ahead.
Hi guys. Let me know if my audio drops out. My signal is not so great. I'm just curious because, well, for one, Stefan, there's a really cool audio company that does on-body speakers, and they've been working with the blind to help them immerse themselves in tech experiences and music. But my question was, obviously a lot of these biofeedback wearables are great for athletes and for clinics, but how do you convince your average consumer that the data you're collecting and the intervention is accurate, that it works?
That sounds like it's for Phnam. Is that Phnam?
Yeah.
So there are different types of companies, some that are, more medical or like lab-based, that go through the whole FDA process, and they have to prove that works. And some companies start right off there. What is difficult about that is that it requires a lot more funding from the beginning, because developing an FDA-approved products requires more time, more testing, especially if you're dispatching all over the world. There are other companies like Halo. What they're doing is that they, they had like PhDs working on that technology for a long time, and then put out a consumer product. So it was not FDA approved, nothing. They put it out, started making money with it, and then took that money and they're currently basically taking that technology and developing into new products under the FDA umbrella. So they did it in 2 phases, and that is for the purpose of convincing more and more users for different purposes to use their products.
Yeah, I mean, we even though obviously we have a very clinical background, it was a very specific choice to not produce a medical device. We, as I say, all I'm really interested in now is global impact. I do think that anxiety and stress are probably teaching the world to control them is probably necessary for any other of the global problems facing the world to be achieved. Yeah, so if human beings are going to make changes, they're only going to do this from a position of long-term, non-fear-based thinking. So people learning to self-regulate their own stress levels is pretty essential. So we're interested in direct-to-consumer, the consumer buying our stuff, not having to go to a doctor to have it prescribed. We've done a lot of in-clinic testing that forms the basis of our patent, forms the basis of our FDA application, which is in process at the moment. And we have a whole research program which will be enveloping over the next 24 months. But we haven't, we've specifically not put a lot of time and energy and resources into jumping through some of the evidence-based medicine hoops. We've really focused on the experience of the users. Because ultimately that's actually what I'm interested in, is producing a technology which anyone can pick up, they can use, they can measure subjectively and objectively how they've changed, and that most people feel better after using it. That's my primary focus.
And one thing that's great and interesting about this whole transformational technology development is that it forces people to think of bettering their lives or bettering their conditions through commitment. It's not like you put a wearable on your body and then the next day you feel better. You have to do it every day. You have to be very conscientious about what it's doing to you being present. And that is actually changing the relationship between people and their own health, right? You used to go to a doctor, they would give you a pill, and you would expect that within a week you feel better. The way well-being is transforming is different now.
Although
it looks like we have 4 more questions.
Okay.
So why don't I just try to make a sequence? So we cover the 4, and I think we will call it a day after that. So I think historically or time-wise, Charles would be going next, and the second would go Rick, then David, and then I don't know how to pronounce Claim, or at least you have your video on if you have any questions. So let's start with Charles, then go to Rick, then go to David, and then if there is the 4th question, we go with that.
Right. Hi, can you hear me? My name is Charles. I'm over here in the Bay Area. So I'm part of the TransTech community. So wearables, all that stuff is something that I'm very big into. What I'm always asking for, like creators, is for people like myself that have clients, and sometimes many clients, that are trying to not invest so much in the medical system and pharmaceuticals for things like anxiety, many of their conditions. They hear about sometimes the wearables that I talk about, and they're like, oh yeah, that's nice. And it takes some coaxing sometimes, because they don't believe that it's actually something that might impact them. So I'm interested, I tell everybody with the wearable, it's like, hey, for us therapists, it would be great if we had schemes that we could actually promote these technologies like Sensate. My wife is a huge fan of it. I love it, but she's got it most of the time. She's using it every night. So it's like, once you get it, then you get it. But I think that's in some cases, to get clients who are having these conditions, anxieties or whatever, unless they're already inclined to not use meds and sort of like believe in that, like maybe getting some support from the creators so that we could promote this in a way for you. So, love Sensate, looking forward to Apollo. There's many other things that I use. And so people were excited about Sensate. They should be. The only thing I had Sensate 1, so the battery keeps running down. So, I know Sensate 2 is better now, supposedly. But that's my question and my statements. Like, well, what do we do for people who are? I know it's not from doctors, but it's not medically. It's for everybody. But many of us can really support that effort to get the wearables out and to sort of bring it out to the public.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we're working on an affiliate program. Sensate 1, which is the one that you've got, sold out very quickly to early adopters. Who are generally much more tolerant of little bumps around the edges, and thank you for being tolerant of the relatively small battery life. It's an 800% increase in the new one. We have a whole roadmap of products and services and software, of course. We're an app. In many ways, we're a software company, and we definitely, and I think absolutely, there's a huge resource that we want to support of practitioners and therapists and doctors. These are people who already have a relationship of trust with patients. I'm practicing less and less, but having a tool that you can use in clinic and then get patients to take home with them is such an amazing resource. Because as Phnam was saying, it's repeat exposure to a habit which produces the neural networks that make it really concrete. I mean, having said that, we've designed Sensate to work more quickly than many interventions, because as I found over the last 10 years or so, people simply won't meditate anymore. If I ask someone to do 45 minutes of meditation, forget it. And we're in the process now of leaping the chasm, right? So we have a very committed early adopter community. We're now interested in moving into the mainstream community. We're therefore having to increase production. We're selling faster currently than we can produce, which is of course a very common problem. So we're having to scale our production up now for the next, the next phase of the company. And make sure that we maintain the quality, etc., along the way. So yeah, the short answer is yeah, absolutely. We really are excited about the idea of how we can support practitioners and therapists, people working with patients. There will be an affiliate model, probably not for another few months until we have a mass supply chain online so that we can actually deliver to people when they want it, rather than the people that are ordering directly from us right now. But thank you for the support.
Maybe I could just comment. Lawrence Klein from Thought Technology. I joined us late, and we sold about 500,000 GSR2s and to the general public. But we have an eView TPS, temperature, pulse, skin conductance, and respiration device that is Android compatible and within a couple of months iOS. And we now have a whole lot of telemedicine starting up with 2 and 4 users available, so a clinician can get a group together or just treat one. So I thought I'd just mention this.
Thank you. Thank you. And now we are left with the 2 final questions. And if the speakers need to go anywhere to do their great work, that's fine. But if we're still all together, then I think 5 minutes for 2 questions would be perfect. So Rick, you are the next, and David, you would be the last question. Okay, let's go.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Rick Leander. I'm the co-chapter lead for the North Carolina chapter of Transformative Technologies. Just a quick question. One of the things that's always puzzled me about some of these consumer wearables, particularly as it relates to brain stimulation, is the level of specificity that's needed and how you deal with sort of mass-produced devices in a context where people's physical and physiological structures can be different.
Thanks for this question. This is one of the most difficult things to do in design, really understanding the body and the variability between each of them. There are many methodologies that we use, one of them having to do with very complex 3D modeling, 3D printing, and testing. So until we had common access to 3D printing, we would do, I don't know, 5 to 10 rounds of prototypes just to refine the positioning of electrodes, whatever. But now, thanks to an overnight print, we can do that every day, basically, for the whole process of design refinements, and really get to places that are very beautiful and precise. And ergonomic design is surprisingly is very tedious, and it's surprisingly something that a lot of designers don't have the patience for. But I personally find it fascinating, because when you come up with something that is so stable, so fits so well, so comfortable, and really is beneficial to people's lives because they're inclined to wear it every day, that's what I call good design.
All right, and then the final question goes to David.
Hey, excuse me. I'm involved with the creation of nature-based or eco-therapeutic content for stress and anxiety relief. My question is to Stefan is this: I'm sure you must have considered, well, what's the reason that you're not integrating like prescriptive visual content into what it is that you're doing with Sensate?
Yeah, no, so it's an interesting point. The use case is definitely close your eyes. And in fact, we even supply a beanbag to try and make people close their eyes. My experience is that most people are overstimulated. Now, there is on the roadmap, actually, there are several products that there is, in fact, already built into the app. There is an audio-visual trainer, which you can follow to set breathing rate. And we have a lot of interesting concepts around products, but also software which enables the vision using color and other aspects. We have used the technology with some of the lucid light technology, and I mean it borders on pharmaceutical in its hallucinogenic capacity, and it really is astonishingly strong. But I mean, my experience is that the majority of people are overstimulated and locked in flight, fight, or freeze.
Right.
So actually, I'm trying to calm their brain down and reduce the amount of sensory stimulation.
Yeah, I'd like to interject something here. So we're talking about content. There's all kinds of content that stimulates. You're talking about color and things like that. My basis is nature, and very serene, beautiful, encompassing, immersive, ecotherapeutic scenes, and they are
absolutely. And I think there's a lot of AR and VR potential with Sensate, because AR, as you say, you can see VR, you can see the environment. With Sensate, you can also interact much more physically with it. The missing element in the visual side is the tactile experience. I've been doing a series of lives on Facebook and Instagram recently, walking in forests. And also just videos of people looking at trees is as effective as looking at cats and babies on Facebook in terms of improving mood. So I agree with you. The use case for the current Sensate is trying to get people back to a state where they have fewer senses, fewer sensory experiences. As I say, the sense of vibration is the first ever physiological sense, and vision came and sound even came much later than that. So we're really just trying to get people out of this flight, fight, freeze response, which doesn't mean that we won't be adding visual data later.
But using a wearable would be very simple. To put on a virtual reality headset and follow the stream in the content. But
well, hey, listen, the first ever wearable device was glasses, right?
Well, but those are wearable for a different purpose, that's for sure. That's for reading. That's what people, or for telescopes actually.
Yeah.
But nature is the crux and the key, and the harmonious all about from that. That's our foundation. So I can't imagine by not incorporating that foundation with the proper prescriptive ecotherapeutic, which I create, how about to not augment, in fact, what it is that you're doing? It's just that simple. I just wonder about that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We use nature sounds, bird sounds, water, wind sounds. So that's how we're currently incorporating that in people, and we find that's very effective. I don't disagree with you at all that the visual side is terribly important.
Okay, yeah, I just want to toss that in.
Great. So we came to conclude. First of all, I would like to thank you, our speakers today. And secondly, I would love to just conclude with reminding where we were. So we were today here, June 4th, Calming Wearables, TransTech, Transformative Technology Community Paris, our speakers. Thank you, Phnam, and thank you, Stefan. And we will have the next event, and those will be monthly events for the TransTech Paris, where there will be speakers. Most of them will be connected to France and with the connections or with their operations currently in France and Paris. And I would like to thank you, Phnam, again, by giving the insights to which are those companies from your expertise. And I will just showcase some of them quickly because I'm in touch with all of them right now. And I would love to get those be speaking for the next events. It might be end of June, might be end of July, we'll see. Here we go. This is a wearable for improving sleep, and specifically how to understand your sleep patterns. So that's a wearable that people can wear on their heads while they're sleeping, and it reads what it needs to read. And then all it goes to the analytics, and there is a smart algorithms behind that and different ways how to communicate back. In the end, with one aim, sleep better. The next, surprise, surprise, another one on sleep. Paying our attention to how sleep now becomes the actual, maybe one of the main currencies for the health and well-being. And this is this nice device, which is shining the blue circles on your ceiling in your bedroom. And those circles are pulsating, larger, smaller, and that kind of trains you breathing to slow down as you try to accommodate your breathing pattern with the shrinking and enlarging those circles projected on your ceiling. Another interesting, and they have a good video how they present it. The next one is a smart math that you can put next to your bath in the bathroom, and that reads different parameters from your feet and different kind of measurements. Take it from there. So that's, maybe you could see not that clearly on that one, but this is intelligent mat next to your bath, which reads a lot of interesting measurements for your health and well-being. Here's another one. It's about brushing your teeth. So first of all, we have a good night's sleep, then we go to bath, and then we have the mat, it reads all the things, then we brush your teeth, and this is kind of a 10-second device. I don't know actually how they are doing it, but what they say, it works. So you put a little bit of toothpaste, put it in your teeth, press it, it works for 5 seconds, then you turn it around, press it again, and then it's done. Very interesting. And the last one for today will be this one, kind of knowing that there are some traditions, and this is related with alcohol consumption. Not everyone does that, but for those who do, they have a measurement instrument to measure your level of alcohol in your blood. And of course, that's important for you to be aware and conscious with your state before you go and drive, before you go to work, before you do pretty much anything. And they pretty much say they have a good accuracy on the measurement, and that's the thing. And possibly the last one, also the Transformative Technology community has for the members these pods. They call Transformative Technology pod. I run one of them. I'm speaking about my work, and predominantly I'm speaking from the paradigm of transformation gene. And this is how it looks for the members. The color is slightly changed in the background. It's instead of blue, it's yellow. And this, for example, will be my next pod that is coming up on June, let's see, June 9th. So on June 9th, there will be a pod where I will be speaking about human energetic intelligence. And there are other great people running their own pods for those who are interested. So at this point, I'm stopping to share my screen. I'm very thankful for everyone who told about the great work, for those who listen, for those who asked great questions, and for all the great energy and passion that we share. And one thing we share, we create and we put our creative energy to improve our own lives, and that means the lives of everybody. Thank you once again. This was great, and see you next time, hopefully soon.